Hey guys, it's Pamela. So as long waited and highly requested, I'm gonna do the Disney conspiracy theory facts slash crazy shit Walt Disney wanted to do before he died. So honestly, I'm obsessed with Walt Disney. He's just a genius. He's kind of everything. He wanted to do some crazy shit, and he actually accomplished some crazy shit. And there's some theories that go along with the crazy shit he accomplished. So let's get to it. First, they control what you smell. In Disneyland and Walt Disney World, you know, everywhere. Basically, they have these little things called a smellizers. A guy named Bob McCarthy. A guy named Bob McCarthy developed. Basically what they do is, say you're walking down Main Street and you smell like fresh baked cookies. It's because they're letting out like little senses of smells of fresh baked cookies. Kind of feel more like, it feels more like happy and like Disney. On the Pirates of the Caribbean ride, you smell like salty seawater. Next time you go to Disneyland or Disney World or some Disney place, try to kind of look out for it, try to smell shit. It's not actual cookies being baked, it's just the smell. The theory of it, it's kind of creepy, is that it's not just smells, it's actually antidepressants that make you happy in the happiest place on earth, but they also make you hungry, so you spend money and buy food. It's kind of believable, but at the same time, it's kind of like, why? This is the second theory. This is actually a theory. I don't know if it's been proven right or wrong. Nobody dies at Disneyland. Basically stating a lot of accidents that have happened at Disneyland, people weren't pronounced dead until they were at the hospital. Oh, and just a disclaimer, no disrespect to any of the families I talk about. At the Epcot Center in Walt Disney World in Florida, a guy named Alan Ferris, he was 37 years old, he shot himself in front of the Epcot ball with a double barrel shotgun, and he wasn't pronounced dead until he got to the hospital, which is fucking crazy, right? Like, you can't just and like live, right? Another example is Thomas Cleveland. He was 19 in 1967. It was grad night, I think. He hopped a 16-foot fence to get into Disneyland or Disney World, and hopped onto the monorail track and was on it, and the guards were like yelling at him like, yo, get off the monorail track, the monorail is coming, and you know, he wasn't listening. And he got hit by the monorail and got dragged 30 to 40 feet. Rumors are he wasn't pronounced dead until he got to the hospital, which I could kind of see that, but at the same time, like, you don't just get hit by like a train type thing and live. I feel like that's something that doesn't happen. Number 3 is the ghost of Debbie Stone. Let me give you guys a little background. On June 8th, 1974, she worked as a hostess on the America Sings attraction at Disneyland. Basically what the America Sings attraction was, it was like a theater you would go and sit in, and it would move to different like stages. I'm pretty positive that's how it was. I guess Debbie Stone, she got too close to the wall that was moving and the wall that wasn't moving, and it completely crushed her and killed her, obviously. It's one of the most known tragedies that happened at Disneyland. It's just depressing. The theory, though, is that Deborah still haunts certain parts of the park, and people say they can see her ghost or her shadow, and they say they hear whispers like, be careful or be safe, which is kind of creepy, I would say myself. There's more though. So on April 30th, 2015, a group of anonymous teens said they had contact with Debbie through a Ouija board, and they said they were talking to somebody that called themselves Deb. And theory number 4. This one is probably one of the most known theories connected to Disneyland and Walt Disney. Pretty much everybody has heard of this theory. It's that Walt Disney cryogenically froze his body until lung cancer is cured. Basically, people think that before Walt Disney died, he was like, yo, to his doctor, like, hey, when do you think lung cancer will be, like, when do you think there will be a cure for it? The doctor was like, I don't know, 40, 50 years. Walt Disney was like, okay, I'll just freeze my body and I'll come back later because I have shit I want to do. People also claim to think that they just froze his head, which I guess makes sense. I don't know why you just freeze your head. I don't think you can attach a head to a body and just be like, oh, there you go, there's your new body. Is that a thing? People claim that his frozen body or his frozen head is like somewhere inside or underneath the Pirates of the Caribbean ride. I think people think that is because there's there's a theory that got proved right, is that Disneyland in the Pirates of the Caribbean ride used to be actually use real human skeletons donated from, you know, dead people, which was true, but since people like got out there that was true, people freaked out and they're like, ugh. But there's still like a skull and crossbones that are real. Number 5 is Walt Disney's plans for Epcot. Last thing I want to talk about isn't a theory, it's a fact. And if Walt Disney hadn't have died, which I really wish he wouldn't have, like, this would have became reality, and I think it's so cool to think about. Experimental Prototype Community of Tomorrow. That's what Epcot stands for. As you guys know, Epcot is this little spherical circle metal thing that's in Walt Disney World. Walt Disney had some big ass plans for Epcot, quote unquote. It will always be in the state of becoming. That is a quote from Walt Disney. He wanted to build a giant city called Epcot in Florida. It's 2 times the size of Manhattan Island. And he wanted to put a giant dome around this city. Kind of like the Simpsons movie where they get the giant dome put on them and they freak the fuck out. He wanted to put a giant dome over his city so he could control the climate. It would always be perfect weather. Like, he wanted to be able to control everything. Basically, there'd be no cars or trucks or anything. There's like multiple different layers of the city, and then there's multiple different like layers underground. There'd be a giant cosmopolitan hotel that's over 40 stories high. There'd be a monorail, a wedway. I don't think wedway or a wedway has come out yet, personally. So basically, the bottom level underground under Epcot would be transportation for trucks to go under the city to like get out. The bottom level would also be for supply trucks to bring shit to the city. And the middle floor was for cars. The top level has 2 electric power trains that'll get you through, which is the monorail, which is in Disneyland, Disney World, and pretty much every Disney park, I think. And then there's the wedway. Basically, how the like sections go on the top floor is the middle will be a hotel, and there'll be like business buildings and everything right in the middle. Right outside of that are the high density apartments for, you know, people working in the city or whatever. And then right out part of that is the green belt, and it's just parks and shit growing, and just it's the green belt. It's like, yeah, it's what it is. And then all the rest, the very outside, is all neighborhood homes. Somewhere in there is Walt Disney World, and there's an industrial park where shit's getting built. If you've seen Tomorrowland, the movie, literally Tomorrowland is based off of Walt Disney's plans for Epcot. The directors of Tomorrowland and the writers won't, you know, state that it's based off of his plans for Epcot, but there's so many Disney references in Tomorrowland. In the beginning of Tomorrowland, Frank Walker goes to the World Fair. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. And a song called There's a Great Big Beautiful Tomorrow is playing. That song premiered at the World Fair that Frank Walker goes to on a ride called the Carousel of Progress. And that ride still plays that song in Disney World's Tomorrowland. I know, right? It's fucking trippy. And then there's also a lot of rumor talking about how Athena looks a lot like Wendy from Tinkerbell. Which if you put them side by side, you know, they really do. The obvious one is in Tomorrowland, is when Frank literally follows Athena onto the It's a Small World ride. Duh. If you look at the pictures of Tomorrowland, it looked like the movie premiere pictures or whatever they are. They look a lot like Cinderella's castle. Other than that, guys, honestly, I think Walt Disney was a genius. I think he was also a little bit crazy, but he's one of my inspirations. I love him to death. I love what he's done with Disney, because honestly, without Disney, Disney was my childhood, and I know a lot of people watching this can say the same thing. Like, Disney was the shit. Disney still is the shit. On that note, please don't forget to comment, like, and subscribe. I guess it helps me out a lot. But in reality, I hope you guys have a good day.